Today I will be presenting step-by-step, thorough solutions to the first 10 problems of the AMC 10A 2020. I will try my best to also explain the motivations behind these solutions. Problem 1. What value of x satisfies x minus 3/4 equals 5/12 over 1/3? As with every algebraic equation, we want to isolate x. However, we cannot figure out x's value until we figure out how to add and subtract the fractions. How do you add and subtract fractions? You take the lowest common multiple of all the denominators and change every fraction's denominator to that. However, it is much more convenient to get rid of the fractions by multiplying every term by the lowest common multiple. The lowest common multiple of the three denominators is 12. So what we do is we multiply by 12. After this, we shift all the numbers to one side. Then we divide by 12 to get x. After converting to the lowest terms, we discover that the answer is E. Problem 2. The numbers 3, 5, 7, A and B have an average of 15. What is the average of A and B? For problems like these, we want to figure out A and B as soon as possible. This means we need to make an equation involving them. In order to calculate the average of a set of numbers, we take the sum and divide it by the amount of numbers in the set. Using this information, we can come up with an equation involving A and B. Here, we took the sum of these 5 numbers and divide by 5 to get 15, which is the average. Then we can multiply by 5 to get rid of the fraction here. We combine like terms. Then we get rid of the 15 to isolate A and B. There is no way to figure out A's value or B's value, but since the question asks for the value of the average of A and B, we can easily figure out that using the original definition, we take the sum of A and B and divide by 2 as there are 2 variables in order to get 30, or C. Problem 3. Assuming A is not equal to 3, B is not equal to 4, and C is not equal to 5, what is the value in simplest form of the following expression? Once again, there are a lot of variables. However, these terms look the same, with 3 minus A actually being minus 1 times A minus 3. 4 minus B is minus 1 times B minus 4, and 5 minus C equals minus 1 times C minus 5. Here, all we have to do is divide by 3 minus A, 4 minus B, and 5 minus C. You might be thinking, but what if this causes a division by zero error? Well, these statements right here show that there's no way you could produce a division by zero error by simply getting rid of like terms in the numerator and denominator. So we finish dividing by 4 minus B and 5 minus C to get negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to 1, which leads us to 1 times negative 1. This is equal to negative 1, or A. Problem 4. A driver travels for 2 hours at 60 miles per hour, during which her car gets 30 miles per gallon of gasoline. She is paid 50 cents per mile, and her only expense is gasoline at $2 per gallon. What is her net rate of pay in dollars per hour after this expense? What we want to do is figure out how much money the driver makes and how much money the driver spends. Notice how the problem asks for her net rate of pay in 1 hour, so the fact that she travels for 2 hours is a red herring, which means we do not need to consider it. Since we don't need to calculate anything new to calculate revenue, we will start off with that. The driver is paid 50 cents for every mile she travels. In 1 hour, she travels 60 miles, so she gets 50 cents times 60 equals $30 of revenue per hour. Now we can focus on our expense, gasoline. First of all, we need to calculate how much gasoline she uses. Every 30 miles she travels, she uses up 1 gallon of gasoline. In 1 hour, she travels 60 miles, and 60 divided by 30 equals 2, so she uses up 2 gallons. 2 gallons times $2 equals $4 of expenses. All we have to do left is to subtract the expenses from the revenue. $30 minus $4 equals $26 or E. Problem 5. What is the sum of all real numbers x for which the absolute value of x squared minus 12x plus 34 equals 2? In case you didn't know, the bars that surround the equation x squared minus 12x plus 34 represent absolute value. If the equation inside is negative, its value is multiplied by minus 1, and if the equation is not, nothing happens to it. It is hard to perform algebraic manipulations on one absolute value, so we want to get rid of it as soon as possible. To do this, we can imagine two cases. The equation inside is positive, or the equation inside is negative. In the first case, we see that this equation represents a quadratic equation. One common method of factoring quadratic equations is through factoring, but we need the right-hand side to equal 0 in order for this to work. I'll explain why. After making the right-hand side 0, after a bit of guessing, we can find out what the equation's factors are. Since the right-hand side is 0, either x minus 8 has to be 0, or x minus 4 has to be 0. This is why we needed to make the right-hand side 0. If x minus 8 is 0, then x is 8. If x minus 4 is 0, x is 4. There are two possibilities for x if the original equation was positive. If it wasn't, we can remove the minus sign on the left-hand side by multiplying everything by minus 1. Once again, we make the right-hand side 0, and then we factor. This time, we get x minus 6 squared. X minus 6 must be 0. There is no non-zero real number whose square equals 0. This means x equals 6 if the original equation was negative. Adding all the possibilities up, we get 18 or C.